Hey guys, I am going to talk about dream interpretations. No, not dream symbols, not activating a gift or navigating it. This is more so the Lord providing a revelation to what may be going on in a lot of his children's lives. So I'm just simply obeying, and I'm going to drop this insight, and I pray that you pray for confirmation as well as discernment over anything that you hear. Always take it back to God for further confirmation. But we are in the days where dreams have been poured out over a lot of people. And these are people who may or may not have a prophetic anointing. But they still dream, and there's a reason for that. And so the Lord wants me to, one, make a podcast episode about this, sharing more in detail dreams that I've had that can be used as examples that you can also kind of say, you know what, I've had something similar like this, or, oh, this is what this looks like. And also, he's just leading me to create the podcast episode. For whatever reason, I don't know, I just obey, but I did have a vision, where when he told me to create the podcast, I saw people with their Bibles listening to the insights that the Lord gave me, and they were taking it to him. I saw people writing down just what kind of stood out to them, and then they prayed on it and they took it to the Lord. And that was the Lord's desire for this podcast that I created, because he wants you to go into the secret place with him for further revelations and deeper insights, deeper truths. And it's kind of like, the podcast scratched the surface or provide that, and then you get to go dive deep. Nonetheless, I will be making a podcast episode, but in this video, the Lord wants me to talk about the pathway of dreams that come through us. So there are 3 avenues that we dream: from the Father, the other ones are from the enemy, and then there's ourself. And the dreams that come from us are exactly as neuroscience and psychology describes it as. And a lot of times these dreams don't really have any meaning that it's not coming from the Lord for like grand exposure or preparation for something up and coming in our lives or the lives of other that needs to be interceded. And or a lot of times it doesn't have meaning in regards to praying against some sort of agreement that the enemy wants you to come into unknowingly, right? Sowing tares among the wheats of like the promises in your life. A lot of times when we dream, it's literally just a random, or you ate chocolate at night and next thing you know, you're dreaming about a dancing donut, just stuff that doesn't make sense, right? And so the Lord wants me to talk about this avenue of dream in particular, because there's an insight he wants people to understand. And it comes from, again, we are in a time where he has poured out dreams over a lot of people. And there's a reason why he's doing that. And I do believe that he wants to kind of provide clarity so that people aren't just taking it like this is more prophetic, but more so to turn inward and see what he's communicating to you. So that, people feel that they're dreamers, and we all have the ability to dream, but what is a distinction between somebody who has that gifting to dream? It's usually consistent. It's always an avenue that is unmistaken, that God uses to intercede through other people or to show you things or to keep you one step ahead of the enemy. And then there are other times where somebody isn't necessarily a dreamer, but they have a dream. And that's what we saw with Pharaoh, right? Pharaoh didn't, in the story of Joseph, he wasn't like a dreamer. It wasn't like he was dreaming all day, every day, 24/7. But when he had a dream, it was keeping him cycling like, this is something that needs my attention. So there are distinctions, and I do ask that you take that to the Lord for more clarity. He's not leading me to kind of explain that just yet, but I do have my pastor's ministry, Outpouring Gates. He has a bunch of teachings, very anointed teachings in regards to dreams, visions, the prophetic office, etc. But in this video, the Lord was showing me that although people may not be dreamers, it's them dreaming because we are in the last days, and he has opened that up to communicate to them. And we see this with Job 33 verses 14 through 18 about how God gives dreams and why he gives dreams. And then also in Ecclesiastes 5 verses 6 through 7. Now these 2 scriptures I gave actually have a common theme that's often overlooked. And when you read those scriptures, you'll see that theme is the Lord revealing something going on, an error in somebody's heart. And in Ecclesiastes verse, it says, in a multitude of dreams, there's vanity, which is pride, right? And so the theme that the Lord is showing me that he wants his children to understand with all these dreams that people may be dreaming lately is not to get overzealous and think that it's something to do with this prophetic mantle, although he will give that distinction. Again, I'm not saying to just completely dismiss that. Just hear what the Lord is saying. He wants you to understand that if you're in a multitude of dreams and there are things going on, it's not always the enemy, it's not always God. These dreams are coming from yourself, but God has opened that ability for you to dream because he's trying to reveal an error in your heart, things that he wants you to give to him, things that he wants to remove, purge out, completely get rid of. And so in this avenue of dreams that come from ourselves, though they don't have meaning, God is showing me to tell you guys that they do in fact have meaning, because it reveals how the enemy sits behind closed doors and is looking at this weak area that you're dreaming about or that you don't know. And what he does is he fans the flame. And then God is saying, yes, this dream may not have, meaning in regards to like biblical interpretations, but I do want you to pay attention to how the enemy's even sitting and stalking you in this weak area that I want you to give to me. So that is what he was trying to reveal. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to keep going. What the Lord wants people to understand is that this opening of dreams is to reveal this about what's going on in your life or what the enemy can attack in your life. He's also revealing this because his desire is for you not to dismiss it. Because if somebody was to come up and tell you something, whether he sends a prophet or he sends somebody with that anointing or he sends a loved one who's close to you that you trust and you just tune them out because you don't want to hear it because it's uncomfortable, well, now he's showing you that you cannot deny what he's revealing in your heart by your own dreams. And that's something in the secret place that nobody can taint or control, especially when it's coming from an avenue of you. Again, there are 3 avenues in which we dream. The Father, the enemy hijacks our dreams, and then we have dreams. So the Lord is showing not only is this dream coming from you, but I'm trying to use that avenue to also purify what is streaming out of your subconscious, right? That living water stream is what he wants to do, where the angels touched that healing water and made it something that could be producing good water and not like poison. If I'm getting that story right, yeah, it was the one where the angel touched it and then it became healing waters. That's what the Lord wants you to produce out of you, is healing waters. So if there's any bitterness, if there's anything coming out, I'm not saying bitterness as in you have bitterness, but bitterness in the way of if there's something tainting this healing springs that he desires for you to flow, that flows out of your heart and relationship with him, he's going to reveal it through you. So even if he doesn't give you the dream to show you, he's going to show you that you're dreaming this by his design, because he, one, is the creator of all things, which means all things come from him. Even our very breath, we cry out his name. So we are all images of our creator. And so even if we're dreaming something, he's using that as a learning opportunity to reveal something that he desires you to give over. And again, it doesn't have to be something always negative. It could also be positive to kind of show you to be brave, because you naturally, have certain inclines toward him. Whatever it is, this is a huge part of the interpretation from a lot of dreams people are having, and they usually have similar themes, and that is what the Lord is wanting you to understand. And so what he showed me is that dream interpretations don't just mean that they need an interpretation or a meaning. He's saying that it's a call to action. So this goes again for the 3 avenues of if it comes from God, if it's hijacked by the enemy, or if it's coming from you. All 3 sometimes don't need a meaning. Sometimes it's a call to action. And so in this case, if it's coming from you, the call to action is to bring it to the Father. So I'm going to give you an example of what a dream looks like that comes from ourselves and what it's revealing, and also how the enemy tries to use it for bad, how God tries to use it for good, and how it just shows you something about yourself. So bear with me. I had this dream when I was a teenager, and it is very personal, but the Lord is saying it's okay to reveal it so that it could be used to help somebody else understand what they may be dreaming about frequently. So when I was a teenager, I loved Michael Jackson. Loved Michael Jackson. You couldn't tell me nothing. Since I was a little girl up until a teenager. And then when he passed away in 2009, I cried. And I had a dream that night when he had passed. And in the dream, I won't get into details in my podcast, I will, so you can understand the symbolism. But for now, just for a summary, when he passed, I went to him to witness to him so that he can come into the salvation of Jesus Christ. And I was telling him all the wonders about Jesus and the miracles, and how when you give your life to God, you can go to heaven and he loves you. And in the dream, he ended up having some sort of heart attack or something, and he was in the hospital, and he gave me a phone call. So I'm like, Michael Jackson is calling me after I witnessed to him. So I got on a flight, I flew to the hospital, I told him about the Lord. He gave his life on his deathbed, and then he went to heaven, and I was crying, and I was talking about how, 1,000 years is a day to the Father, and I was just scripture and all this stuff, right? And then that was my dream. Of course, that dream had no meaning. It came from myself, my own like for Michael, and I asked the Lord about it years later. Okay, so when I was a teenager, I did not have the gift to interpret dreams. It didn't come until years later that he gave me the interpretation. And boy, oh boy, did I wish I had somebody around me that could interpret dreams at that point in my life. It would have saved me from so many failed relationships and bad toxic friendships. Glory be to God. But nonetheless, what the Lord was showing me, and then I hope it helps you as well, is in that dream, to give you the interpretation, I had a root of idolatry in my heart. So when I had a dream, because I was grieved by the fact that Michael Jackson died, the enemy saw that root in my heart, this weak area in my heart, right? Idolatry isn't that I'm just worshiping Michael Jackson, but I have to be the one, right? Like this vanity of like, I have to be the one to witness to him. I'm of great importance to the Father, and I was sent to him to help save him into salvation. But also that comes from a place because I idolized Michael. I didn't want anything bad to happen to him. And no, I'm not saying that if you have that desire that you're somehow mixing up love for others and compassion for that. But passion and zeal can also be a sin outside of the filter of Christ. It is biblical. So I had a root of idolatry, and the devil saw this. So he was fanning the flame of that dream that I gave myself. From my own grief, I gave myself that dream, and the enemy was fanning that flame to keep me cycling idolatry, which in fact he did, because like I said, 2 failed relationships, perpetuated generational curse later, and bad friendships. I realized, ooh, I should have got deliverance for that when I had that dream, or given that to the Lord. But I was using that dream as well. Again, this came from the avenue of me, my own grief and heartbreak from the fact that a guy that I loved with his music since I was a child, I'm talking since I was a little girl, like 5 or 6, I loved Michael Jackson all up till teenager. When he passed, I had this dream of my own, but God was showing me, because I'm not the creator, I'm the creation. So when I create dreams, it's actually coming from things that the Lord wants to show me what the real meaning is of that. I hope that's making sense. Nonetheless, I produced this dream, and the enemy was like, yeah, it bears the mark of idolatry, and I like this. I'm going to keep this going in your life. But God was showing me, daughter, this is idolatry. I see your pain. I know your love, but this is idolatry, baby girl. And this is a no. Hindsight being 2020, what you guys can do now when you find that you're having a multitude of dreams, right? Like Solomon said, that indicates vanity, and vanity is effortless things. It doesn't always have to be just like, the negative connotations. It's things that you put effort in that produces no fruit. That is what that means. And so the Lord is showing you with these multitude of dreams, or these dreams that you're having, that it's sometimes not for you to get on here and be like, oh, the Lord is showing me this, because you could have had a tsunami dream, and God was showing you that the tsunami represents darkness in your life that you keep running from, because you battle a root of fear that comes from a place of instability in trusting God's weapons of warfare for you to stand as a victor, right? So whatever that looks like, whatever that is, don't necessarily get overwhelmed with the dream like I did, because I did with that. And of course, this is a different dream than the one I just gave as an example, but this could be, dissected and used in your own life as a way to understand the interpretation of what God is showing you. Because if you find that you're producing dreams and they actually don't have meaning, right? And they don't come from the Lord. And a lot of times that because, the way that the themes are constantly repetitive. Now, it does come from the Lord, because again, as a dreamer, I can't sit and create things in my mind to show that it's me that designed this. No, I'm taking things that God has created and I'm producing that. But what God is showing me, what I'm producing, what's flowing out of my heart, is idolatry. And so when he's showing me that, my dream really didn't have meaning. I was just grieving Michael Jackson. But to the Lord, it did have meaning. He was trying to show me, daughter, what you're creating and producing is idolatry. It's in your heart. I can't pour new wine into old wineskin. I need you to give that to me. But the enemy, seeing that this is a weak area in my heart, is like, ooh, I got so many plans. I got so many plans for her when she gets older. You just wait. Come from the Lord, because again, as a dreamer, I can't sit and create things in my mind to show that it's me that designed this. No, I'm taking things that God has created and I'm producing that. But what God is showing me, what I'm producing, what's flowing out of my heart, is idolatry. And so when he's showing me that, my dream really didn't have meaning. I was just grieving Michael Jackson. But to the Lord, it did have meaning. He was trying to show me, daughter, what you're creating and producing is idolatry. It's in your heart. I can't pour new wine into old wineskin. I need you to give that to me. But the enemy, seeing that this is a weak area in my heart, is like, ooh, I got so many plans. I got so many plans for her when she gets older. You just wait. The enemy will use that, and he will patiently use it. And then a lot of times what the enemy will do with what he discerned from your dreams, because he's sitting back watching you and your subconscious grab things and create this dream. And he's like, oh, so she battles with this, because he's not omnipotent. He's not all knowing. He just is a stalker. And so he sees that. Guess what he's going to do when you wake up? Well, he's going to give you signs and wonders. Next thing you know, you're having deja vu. And you're like, oh, is this you, Lord? And God's like, nah, it's not. It's not me. Not really. It's the enemy trying to help you stay fixated on that root so that you never break it and get delivered from it, so that you continue to perpetuate it in your heart, which can't be when you're under me, child. But he desires his children to understand right now in this hour, so that you can understand what could possibly be hindering you from what he's trying to use you for. Because he doesn't want you, like a lot of people we see who get these platforms and do these things, he'll still use you. Don't think he won't. Don't think he'll hold you back, and then when your time comes, you suddenly can't be of use, and so you're forever stuck. No, that's not the case. Moses had a root of anger in his heart, and it cost him his promised land, but God still used him to do mighty works and wonders. So hear me when I say this. This means that God can still use you, but he still tries to teach you and warn you, so that when you see these things, you can remove them, so you can be in longevity. You don't have to worry about stumbling or having a great fall when you get a platform, or that you end up walking away from him like Saul did, never really seeking after his heart, just always wanting that platform and being king and liking what those connotations provide, right? Because it always starts off with that zeal, but then it falters out. And we want the zeal that the Bible describes, that's all consuming, that's reflective of his all consuming fire, right? So God bless you guys. I hope this makes sense. I hope this blesses you. I hope this helps you to provide caution with your dreams, and to say, okay, you know what, Lord, if this is me and this isn't you and this isn't necessarily the devil, because this is how I can get mixed up. The devil will also play with you with those dreams, because he sees that's a weak area. That's an area of needing inner healing, of needing inner deliverance. So he's going, of course, it's a festering wound. He's about to play with you. And so that's why you may think, oh, this dream is from the enemy. And then sometimes God can be showing you, even within that dream, like I was ministering, I was witnessing to Michael Jackson, where you can think, oh, this is the Lord using me. He's using my hands for his glory. And it's not the case whatsoever. So God bless you guys.